Hello and welcome to Sport Tonight. I'm Cecilia Mogbe, right here in Lagos. Right, Austin's going to join me maybe 2 or 3 minutes from now. We're waiting for him. All right, this is what the show looks like tonight. It's 12 days to the Africa Cup of Nations, and so many teams have released their final squad for AFCON 2025 in Morocco. But for Super Eagles of Nigeria, we are still waiting for the final list. Remember, just last week, the coach released a list of 54 players. So waiting to see the finalists, maybe 25, 26, 27, or 28, but maximum is 28. So we're waiting for that. And just a few minutes before it came on the show, Tanzania, one of the teams in the group, in Super Eagles group, have actually released their finalists for AFCON. Of course, host nation, not host nation, holders, talking about Côte d'Ivoire that hosted the last one. They've also released their final squad for the Africa Cup of Nations. And of course, Morocco, the host nation, they are preparing for the Africa Cup of Nations. That's the team. They have a world record unbeaten run 18. No one has ever done that. Spain had 15 home and away unbeaten. And of course, for Morocco, they are running on 18. And they are heading into AFCON having scored 55 goals. Yes, 55. We'll break that down on the show tonight. Africa Cup of Nations getting our attention. And there's a very big one that Nigeria will be facing. Outside Benjamin Fredericks that is out of it, well, Stanley Nwabali is another player. That's the goalkeeper of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He's injured at the moment, but he's thinking he will be fit for that Nations Cup. We'll give you updates on his injury on the show tonight. And of course, the NPFL is getting our attention. Games were played on Monday, and the games that were played over the weekend. And Nasarawa Amazons, of course, Nasarawa United are back to the top of the table. We'll talk about the NPFL games later on the show. And NWFL will also get our attention. Match day 3 will be played on Wednesday across different centers in the country. And of course, we'll also give you updates on that. And the UEFA Champions League games currently going on. Also, we'll bring you updates on that on the show. And the games for tomorrow, the big one we will be focusing on, that is Manchester City and Real Madrid. Yes, those two sides. And of course, remember, Man City and Real Madrid not looking pretty when it comes to the table. Arsenal still having Arsenal still the only team that are unbeaten in the UEFA Champions League. So much more on Sport Tonight. Austin, you ready to jump in?
I'm ready for you now, Cecilia. Sport greetings to you, and of course, everyone joining us on the show tonight. Always an action-packed world of sports. Here you talked about it. I'll be bringing you updates from the UEFA Champions League. Fireworks everywhere. We will find out what will happen by the end of the show. We should be getting most of the results, and then we'll tell you what is really going on. There was a bit of scare for Bayern Munich, Cecilia, but against Sporting CP, they said, look, no problem, we've got this. So the Bavarians, they went on to win that one by 3-1. We're counting down to the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. I can now feel it with countries releasing their final squad list. Where is the Super Eagles list? What's going on? That's the question.
We're waiting for it right here in the studio. Kende is right here in the studio. And of course, Kende, it's great to have you join us on the Tuesday night.
It's good to be here, Cecilia. And the last question Austin asked is the question a lot of people are asking.
Maybe tonight. Have you been refreshing your emails? I've been doing it since every hour since
For those who know you do this job, I found somebody just talking on the way, hey, I do follow your show. Sorry, when is our list coming out? I'm like, how am I supposed? But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Looking forward to discussing probably other things that has to do with the the AFCON, what Morocco has been doing, how they are getting prepared. Not just their team, but also the entire country, to have the best, hosting experience for teams who are coming to visit. So, all other teams and their preparations, looking forward to the AFCON, really.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to it. And of course, the 12 days to the commencement of the Africa Cup of Nations. There you have it. We are counting down. And also waiting anxiously for the finalists that will be coming from Coach Eric Chell. Right now, I'm not envying him because he earns the big bucks. But I heard he has not been paid for 3 months. Okay, he didn't hear that from me, but that's the story out there. But then we're waiting for the final list. 28, 27, 25, or even 23. Now, CAF have agreed for teams, 23 players but you can take as much as a 28. Maybe the others will just come observe and learn, and then the experience will also be there. Maybe in case of any injury, you know that you have a pool of 5 players you can actually, take one from for that. So it's 25 days to the Africa Cup of Nations, and the mascot was unveiled on Monday. And when you unveil the mascot, you know, yes, it's almost time for the Africa Cup of Nations. And I love the fact that what Morocco did is to, Atlas Lions is a unifying factor, in terms of anything you can think of is a symbol, of unity for Morocco, and that's why they use that as their official mascot, called Assad.
Yeah, very beautiful. The graphics, the looks. You're seeing a lion and you're loving to get close to a lion. That's what the picture gives. And when you unveil mascots, you're already on the home stretch. You're already close to having everything. And more so, we had a tour, London, so many places where the AFCON, just to, rile people, create awareness, publicity for the AFCON, because we've said it time and time again that one of the things CAF does not do, one of the things African football doesn't do, is to create publicity for the AFCON. And yes, maybe this time we could score them, a little higher than we do score them before. So now we are close to being home. 12 days to go. Already by 12 days, if you're a team in the AFCON, you're already in the tournament. If you're not yet in the tournament right now, then you don't have business being there at all. So maybe that might be the story of the Super Eagles. But, Morocco continue to, give us different angles to showing us their preparedness, show us reason why they should be the host. And like someone said, right there in those climbs, he said, this would also be a pointer to what we should expect from Morocco in 2030, as much as they still have about 4 years to prepare for that. But this would also tell, a bit of the story of what the entire world should be waiting to see in Morocco. And yes, as an African, maybe you call it North Africa, we are in West Africa, proud to see an African country, building on this, and maybe all other African countries who are not at par could learn from that.
Yeah, maybe they can actually do that. So the Atlas Lion was inspired by, the iconic picture you have in Africa is actually the lion, and that's why they had to use this. And it's not just for AFCON. After AFCON, CAF intends to use it for the different grassroots programs in Africa. I think this is a big one, Austin. They're not just launching a mascot unveiling the mascot for the Africa Cup of Nations, but it's something they want to sustain, be a symbol for development and grassroots football in Africa, cutting across all boards. That's why it's very useful, right?
Yeah, Cecilia, we've said it that Morocco, for them, it's beyond hosting the Africa Cup of Nations. It's an opportunity to let the world see the level of development that they've achieved with their football. Don't forget, there's 2030, the big one out there, For instance, you went there for the WAFCON, and they wowed you. Yeah. When Irene went there for, when he was invited by the king to come and inspect facilities, he was wowed. I'm sure everyone that has been to Morocco in the last 5 years, what they have done in terms of public relations, we call it glittering propaganda. Yeah. When you go into Morocco, you will help them tell their story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, we are going to be there for the Africa Cup of Nations. I'll get into Fez on the 21st, and then I'll come and see all of these things now that we're talking about. I'll get an opportunity to, to understand what Morocco wants to achieve with this AFCON. And I think it's really good for African football. That's the branding we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now we're not talking about the football being played, but they're giving us details.
Yeah.
And that is born out of long-term planning that we always tell the Nigeria Football Federation, and people think we're calling them out unnecessarily. Look at the disgrace that is coming our way now through the AFN with age cheats. When we say these things, we haven't been talking about Morocco and their football in the last, let's say maybe 10 years ago you were in. But in the last 5 years now, there's no way you want to get into the football.
Let's bring it back to the discussion.
You will not bring Morocco into it, Cecilia. Yeah, that's what they are doing.
Obviously. I mean, the Assad will not just be playing a leading role only just by engaging fans across stadium but also there will be community events, and also, of course, the supports global marketing, promotional campaigns, digital content, and interactive experiences, all about branding for CAF. That's what they're using, Assad to do in this tournament. So his identity, which is friendly, youthful lion, expressive features, energetic personality, reflecting the warmth, creativity, and diversity of Africa. So I love what they did here. It wasn't just about Morocco, but it's about Africa because it's the future of African football. So there you have it, Assad, the mascot for the Africa Cup of Nations. So youthful. I love it. Okay, let's leave that and quickly talk about Stanley Nwabali before we dwell on the teams that have released the list for the Africa Cup of Nations. Yes, the story coming from Chippa United, South Africa, is really not too cool. So we're going to read, what the coach said about Stanley Nwabali. I mean, he says he doesn't think he's going to make it to the final of the Africa Cup of Nations. So we'll just go through what he says, after that injury that he sustained while playing. Of course, he sustained that while he was in Morocco during the playoffs that Nigeria did not qualify for the World Cup. I don't think he will make it, but when I was talking to him, he was confident that he will recover very soon. But obviously, you will understand because he's a player. He wants to be there at the Africa Cup of Nations final. He says that he will have to undergo hand operation, and not just that, he also have an ankle injury. So it's an ankle injury, but then also the hand needs an operation because he's been playing with that injured hand for a while. And now, for a while now, and he aggravated the injury while he was in Morocco. That's during the playoffs. So this is coming from our Chippa United coach concerning Stanley Nwabali. I mean, these are all, he's speculating. Nwabali says he wants to be there. He's confident as a player. You obviously don't want to miss out the biggest occasion. So right now, we are having a headache because coach Eric Chell has not really tested the other goalkeepers since he came on. Yes, we had Stanley, Maduka Okoye, you have Amas Obasoge, but these are goalkeepers that for him, yes, other coaches may have tested them, but he hasn't. So that's the worry right here. Because if Nwabali had to undergo any hand operation right now, he may not start games, and we're having a test match on the 16th of December against Egypt, practice match, before AFCON starts 21st. Now, these are, a lot of question marks here concerning Stanley Nwabali.
Yeah, firstly, we can pardon Eric Chell. All of the games he had played with the Super Eagles, there is no way he can exhibit with anything. He had to come up with
experimentation.
No experimentation. He had to, go with his best legs. And Stanley Nwabali, has been the best since the Nations Cup. And for Stanley Nwabali, managing to play, like Van Persie said some years ago, he said, you can receive all of the biggest monies in the world, but for every footballer, you want to be on the pitch and display your wares, display what you can do. Let the entire world talk about, this is what he did last night, this is what he did yesterday afternoon, and that makes you even happier than the fat checks that, you've got there. So for Stanley Nwabali, he had been managing to play because he wants to continue to be there and be the one, helping his team, both club and country, to the next phase. But now, aggravated, something needs to be done. We don't know how, how much of a healing power, maybe it's Wolverine, as it stands, how much of a healing power he's got, but we'll wait and see. Now, these are reasons why, you always feel open up anything better than, streamlining it. Now, we're discussing Stanley Nwabali, who, by the way, came in as a rescue mission in last year's Nations Cup. In fact, Nigerians don't know what to expect while we're going to the Nations Cup. But he got there, wowed everybody, and he became, the man that should be talked about. Now we're struggling with that same man now. We don't know who, but Maduka Okoye is back in the fold. We'll see how it goes. Exhibition match against Egypt. Maybe this is the one we can test with. But Stanley Nwabali, wishing you the quickest recovery. Hopefully you'll be back for the Nations Cup.
Hopefully we'll be back. Austin, Chippa United manager Visumuzi Vilakazi. That's what he said. We just heard from him saying he's a doubt. But then Nwabali says, look, I can actually go. This is kind of a worry, right, for everyone in Nigeria right now.
It is, and yesterday I launched it clarified on my socials. I said Super Eagles worries. Unexpected retirement from the captain, William Troost Ekong. Benjamin Fredericks injured and out, still recovering. Stanley Nwabali now a major doubt for the AFCON. These are valid worries, Cecilia, and it's a big test on the team. Like, everyone needs to step up now and prove a point. The truth about Stanley Nwabali's injury is that he has been struggling with that for quite some time, and that's why it's looking like it's worse now. Ankle and his hand, that's a lot.
Yeah.
He has missed 3 matches. For him, since after the playoffs, he has not been playing for 3 matches. So I'm sure Nwabali will be saying he needs to rest it so he can be ready just in time for the Africa Cup of Nations. But hey, this is Nigeria. This is the Super Eagles. Coach Eric Shell must be thinking about a way out of this now. He invited Francis Uzo, now he's there. Maduka Okoye is thinking this is the right time for him to, also step up and get his place as number 1 choice. There's Amaso Basogi who will be saying that, look, I'm tired of being the goalkeeper trainer all the time. They're using me to train. So this is good competition, but to get better, Stanley Nwabali will be, declared fit enough for the AFCON. But what I'll say is, don't rush him. If he's not fit enough, he's not good enough, don't let him go to the AFCON so that people will not have excuses and come after him tomorrow. And we know that we've just been tolerating Stanley Nwabali lately with some of the things we saw during the qualifiers. So he has to give his best, and you don't want to put him under pressure unless he's human, and then he can just make mistakes. Then we'll come at him again. All the best to Nwabobo. I like him. As Kende said, he was rescuer for us when we thinking he was going to replace Vincent Nyama, and God gave us Nwabali. So it's time for someone else to prove a point. But if Stanley will be fine for it, it's all good for us, Cecilia.
It's all good for us. We're hoping and praying he will be fit enough for the Africa Cup of Nations when it starts December 21st. All right, let's take a look at the teams that have released their final squad for the Africa Cup of Nations. Of course, obviously, Nigeria is not in that WhatsApp group, is left. So we'll take a look at that quickly. Talking about Côte d'Ivoire, the holders. You talk about Tanzania in Nigeria's group. You talk about, of course, Morocco, the host nation. South Africa were the first to actually come up with their own list. I wish we can just see those names, but we can't see them right now. And of course, for Côte d'Ivoire, there's a surprise inclusion in that list. After 2 years, you have Wilfred Zaha actually making it back. MLS, he has been impressive, scoring about 10 goals and 6 assists so far this season in the Major League Soccer right there in the US. So for Charlotte FC, he has been really impressive. 33 is back into the fold, but one name missing is Simon Adingra. So he did not make the final squad for the Africa Cup of Nations. 26-man list, that was what Côte d'Ivoire came up with. We also have Tanzania. And Tanzania, of course, has 28-man squad. That's what they've released, the Taifa Stars. So that squad, earlier they had a provisional list, but you have some players who actually, the call from Simba FC and also Young Africans and Azam FC. So if CAF pays a club, they will be earning so much money. And if they've qualified for the World Cup, imagine how much the clubs will be earning coming from the FIFA World Cup money for clubs. And we'll talk about Morocco when we come back. I don't know if we have time to quickly do that. I wanted it to be displayed on the screen. Talking about Morocco, the winning streak they've had, the record they've set, 18 consecutive victories. That's what they've set. That was since 2024, last year. That's when they started that run, June 2024. But when we come back, we will talk more about Morocco. We need to go on a break. When we come back from this particular break, Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga will continue on our DSTV platform, on stream, on other platforms, terrestrial and all UK. We will continue with Sport Tonight. Stay with us. Welcome back from that break. We're talking about statistics of Morocco and also those teams that have actually qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations. Those teams that have brought out their final list in the Africa Cup of Nations. So we're talking about Morocco, before we went on that break. The last time Morocco won AFCON was in 1976, and that was in Ethiopia. All the players here, none of them were actually born. But I think their current coach was in the final of the one in 2004 when they lost to Tunisia, who hosted in that one. Talking about Reguari, he was part of that squad that lost that final. But now, they built over the last 10 years. In the World Cup in Qatar, they got to the semi-final. And of course, their under-20 team just won the World Cup, for the first time. So it tells you a whole lot about how strong these Moroccans are. And as I mentioned earlier, how many goals have they scored? 55 goals, conceding just 4. And not just that, they have a clean sheet of 14. So now, 18 matches, 55 goals, 4 goals conceded, clean sheet 14. I don't know. I was talking to my producer, Irene Mama, that they should just give them the trophy before the tournament kicks off. Form is big right now.
It's big. It's big. At the Nations Cup in Côte d'Ivoire last year, the moment the Nations Cup finished, Nigeria losing to Côte d'Ivoire, I heard a lot of people say, come back next year, come to Morocco and come and pick your trophy because of what they saw with the Super Eagles. But you see, there is something about time. It changes narratives. It changes stories. Now, between January, February last year, which the Nations Cup held, all the way to December 2025, a whole lot had changed. In fact, look at the story of the Super Eagles. We're discussing from bad to worse, and you don't know where to put your head, how everything had turned around. We couldn't qualify for the World Cup. Psychologically, the team is battered. Now we're discussing the coach. Who will you pick? At this time, we don't have our squad yet. While in that space, a team like Morocco seemed to continue to stabilize. They continue to build on what they did in 2022 at the World Cup in Qatar, and now they look like the super favorite. Not because they are hosting, but because of how they've gone on that run all the way up until now. We go ahead and say Nigeria is a fantastic tournament team, but also there are times planning is all you need. You don't even need the best squad. You don't even need the best players. But you're planning, unifying the team properly, setting them up, and making them, in that tune to believing that they can go on the run and win, rather than, just depending on we're talented, we've got a squad, we'll go there, no matter what the odds are, we'll do. Morocco has left nothing unturned, and it will only take sheer luck for them to not win this tournament. And I say, anybody anywhere, whether in Africa or around the world, are already tipping Morocco to go ahead and, do the host and win thing. And yes, they are the #1 favorites. And the statistics are not lying. These guys are on a roll. And one of the ways you can cap such a run is to win a trophy. And probably you win the Nations Cup, you go ahead to next year's World Cup and still repeat what you did the last time at the World Cup. Nothing, that Morocco does now that will shock anybody around the world because of the precedents we've been seeing. They had a 10 years plan. As of the 8th year, they started shocking the world, 2022 World Cup. And then now, we're talking of the 10 years plan time at the lapse, and we're seeing the dividends. Okay. You just mentioned the under-20.
Can we pause?
And the glory just continues.
Let's focus on what the games are. I mean, for Morocco, you have one player who wasn't in Qatar the last time, Brahim Diaz. He has emerged as a clinical finisher. He's the leading scorer with 7 goals in the AFCON qualifier. So that's one of the players to watch out for. And, of course, their captain, Hakim. Hakim was injured in that Champions League game against Bayern Munich when they lost. But then the coach is saying that he will be ready for their first game against Comoros. Now, let's take a look at, just the statistics I read out. I think it's actually ready now. The statistics I read out earlier that happens to do with Morocco. Maybe you just take a look at it. We'll put it into perspective, what these Moroccan teams, what they've done. Now, 18 consecutive victories. Only Spain is actually close. Spain had 15 before they lost their game. And we're talking about home and away matches, not just home games. And now they're hosting AFCON, and the first game is against Comoros. I'm not trying to underrate Comoros, but this might just get to 18 or 9. Get to 19 or even 20 or maybe 25 when the AFCON is over. Who knows? They will host that highest record. Numbers of goals scored happens to be 55 goals in 18 matches. What does that tell you? My producer was telling me, look, it was Lesotho, it was Comoros, it was Tanzania. Okay, I was like, several goals, how many games? This goes this way against these teams. Numbers of goals conceded, 4. Now, put this into perspective. You understand what I'm talking about? Numbers of clean sheets, 14. Austin, I said, give the trophy to Morocco. Yes, when you're coming into a tournament, you're on a very good form. You understand what that means. It sends fear. There's just that fear factor, knowing that these guys can score, but it's hard for you to score against them. 14 clean sheets.
But Cecilia, it also puts them under pressure. We need to highlight that. And, being the host host and everything that they put into their football, and the fans, coming out expecting so much, they might just freeze. But that doesn't take anything away from the records that you've just, talked about. It's frightening, Any country that wants to go against Morocco now will be wondering, what sort of approach they give this one. I think they've got Mali in that group, Comoros, and the last team beats me now. You expect them to go from that group A, but Africa's football is in a very unpredictable place now, Cecilia. Because anything can just happen. I've called Comoros my number one underdog team, but I also like what the Cranes of Uganda seem to be doing as regards preparing. And that's why they've become the first team to touch down in Morocco to go and acclimatize, get ready. And they're in that same group C with Nigeria. The Cypher Stars also, the level of preparation that they put into it. Botswana, as a country, what they've been doing for sports, not just football. So we're going to be seeing a lot of results. But look, in analyzing the AFCON before it starts, I can't come out and say Morocco will win it. I'm not going to say that, because I know there are other countries that are just, trophy freaked. E.g., Nigeria. You can go there and play bad football and we'll get to the final. Senegal might not be fantastic and we'll get to the final. Egypt might just do the bare minimum and get to the final. Morocco, as I said, for them it goes beyond playing football. They want to host. They are testing a lot of, the criteria, the parameters that they've set for football development in their country. So that might even be a long-term objective for them, not even winning the AFCON. But hey, if they keep this form going, I agree with you. Just give them the trophy.
Yeah, give it to them. And the group they are in, you have Mali. That's out of the 12 contenders we have for the Africa Cup of Nations. Mali is the only team that haven't won the Africa Cup of Nations. So they are in the group. After they play Comoros, they're going to be playing Mali before they play Zambia. So it is a star-studded Group A. You will say that. But then for Morocco, well, anything can happen. So we'll leave it there because I know we can talk about Morocco to the end of the show. We'll just rest the Africa Cup of Nations here and quickly go to, I don't know if we still have the stats of those countries that have, unveiled their finalists for the Africa Cup of Nations. If we don't have that, move away from Moroccan team that will be playing all their games in one stadium, all Group A matches in the stadium that the final will be played. And when I'm talking about the stadium, is that 68,700 seat Prince Mullah Abdullah Stadium in Rabat to also stage the final. So they're ready. Now Uganda, yes, Uganda, you can see they are already in Morocco. This is the fitness, training they're having. They arrived on Monday, becoming the first team. Austin just mentioned them earlier. The first team to arrive in Morocco. There's this saying, the first shall be the last. If it happens, it simply means they are going to stay till the final. The first may also be the first to go out. Who knows? But then they are in a group, that has what? Nigeria. So obviously they will be going. I'll be happy that they will be coming back. Yes, they will be coming back. But this is Uganda team already there. The coach actually said they're going to be undergoing 11 days intensive training. That's what they want to do in Morocco. No distraction. They came out with their 30-man list just on Sunday here. And they already immediately came out with a list on Monday. They came out. They went to Morocco and they are there already. Just today they had their very first intensive training. They're going to be playing series of friendlies. We don't know the names yet, but we know Super Eagles are not there yet. We'll be playing Egypt in the practice game on the 16th. But they're playing 2 games, and maybe as time goes on, we'll know if they will be having. They finished second in the group with 6 wins from 10 matches. So the Cranes, well, it's looking good, right?
Yeah.
Quarterfinals in 2024, that's the CHAN. Yeah, so that's a step. And most of the players, they also pick them from,
Yeah.
So,
and some African football is very physical.
Of course.
So, the more you've got very strong-minded players, not necessarily topmost when it comes to tactical ability. You can still muscle your way through. In fact, last year, it seemed like Nigeria did that 1-0, 1-0 here and there and all of that. See, sometimes it makes me ask a lot of questions. How do we even get past teams without even preparing? Look at everything we've read about the Cranes of Uganda. They have 11 preparatory games, this, that. and then they'll play the Super Eagles, and then you'll see the Super Eagles ride over them. Yes, I understand there is golf in class.
I mean, Cranes of Uganda, Super Eagles of Nigeria. Why are you comparing it? We're three-time African champions.
I can remember when we're in school, even while you're on your job, they tell you, prepare for everything. You just have to set out plans to get you set and ready, because if you are not ready, you will get flawed. But the Super Eagles, especially when it comes to tournament, hardly gets flawed, even without preparation. Look at all of these stories put together. In fact, all of the guys who, played that qualifier, we don't even know if a chunk of them will be making it, because it's a 55-man shortlist. We can come up with new teams and say, these new boys, make the cut and all of that. These are issues. We just discussed Stanley Nwabali. Frederick seemed like the sweetest team that came through for Super Eagles, especially in the qualifiers. And then, we're still discussing, some other names, William Trustekong, who is a stabilizing captain for this team. And then you put all of that together, eventually you go to the Nations Cup, and then you beat teams. You remember 2016 Rio? The Mikel Obi-led team, 6 hours to their first game, they landed in Brazil and they still went ahead to win the game 5-4. We've got the entire world talking. Who gets to a country 6 hours before a match? But the Cranes prepare for Nigeria and every other person in the group, because we don't plan. All we do is we come there and beat you at plan.
We know when it comes to this, you're always the best. But for Uganda, the last time they were at AFCON was in 2019. So they are making it back. That's why that's why they're very serious about it. But Super Eagles, it's always like a better. Yes, we qualify, except back-to-back during the Magic time when we didn't go to the Nations Cup, which was really painful at that time. Of course, World Cup has entered. But then, we just have this thing. I mean, we're the best. No teams can beat us. Sometimes it worked against us, and sometimes it worked in our favor. But this time around, Ugandans, they're already there. The first shall be the last, or the first shall be the first.
So, I've always said it that the problem I have with West Africa, they don't care to know the level of development happening at other regions. You know what's happening with Uganda and Tanzania now is even beyond AFCON. It's them getting ready for the next AFCON that they will be hosting.
Okay.
So it's East Africa's developmental, plan that we're seeing now. And they're not joking. They've unveiled their stadium, state of the art, lovely. And you know how I'm big about infrastructure. That's what actually leads your planning, because you need to say to yourself, what am I going to be doing with this? So the Cranes of Uganda, before now, they're a team that can upset any team. Cecilia, let's be sincere. Yes. They are a proper underdog. Remember that Vincent Nyama 100th Super Eagles game in Uyo? It was Uganda that came there, stunned us, beat us clean, and left. Now, when you say Nigeria is the best, Cecilia, I understand your level of patriotism. You're in Nigeria. You want to talk. Let me remind you that just
I said they're the best in terms of not preparing and also winning. Look at the Super Falcons, for instance. It's the least prepared team, and they went on to win.
Stay with men's football.
Let's go to
NWFL. Let me remind you that just this year, you couldn't beat Zimbabwe home and away. It's very important to know that. I understand that tournament mode football is different.
Yeah.
People can just go, as I said, win 1-0. Pizarro, with his terrible football style, almost won us the AFCON.
Yes.
So that can happen.
Okay.
But I like the level of seriousness that small teams like Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Botswana, Comoros seem to be putting into their football. I'll wrap with this. Planning is important. Cape Verde is going to the World Cup. Is your country going?
Curacao is also going. All right. Let's leave Africa Cup of Nations and go to NWFL, the games that we've played across, the country on Wednesday. You have match day 3. We've got the fixtures for you, and we're starting off with Group A, where you have Adamawa Queens will be hosting Ibom Angels, Ekiti Queens hosting Edo Queens, the Battle of the Queens, all here. Pace Setters hosting Rivers Angels. You have Nigeria Hotels, who lost to Rivers Angels by Longo, hosting Bayelsa Queens. That's all in Group A. Now let's move over to Group B. What do we have? FC Robo Queens will be hosting Delta Queens. Now last time they played at home against Confluence Queens, they won by 4 goals to nothing. It was a goal first, right there, Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Onikom. Conference Queens, after taking 4 from Robo, will be welcoming Remo Stars, who also won their home game against Abia Angels. That game they won by a lone goal. Abia Angels will be facing Oshun Babes at home, and of course, Adimnanem Queens and Natural Amazons will complete the games for Wednesday. Just a quick one. I mean, we've got big fixtures. I think the biggest, what we've just seen, will be FC Robo hosting Delta Queens. By virtue of the fact that if you look at the table, yes, it's very early, but then it's looking pretty for FC Robo right now.
Yeah.
They're starting so well.
In fact, it's looking pretty for the Lagos club. Sunshine would also be playing, Danas ladies, who are both, Robo is first, Danas is second in Group B table right there. So it's looking really good. But, I selected some games for match day 3. Rivers United versus Space Setters. Rivers Angels.
Yeah.
I think if you're a lover of women's football club level, you just must have huge respect for Rivers Angels. What they've done, you cannot sweep it under the carpet. So I always look forward to their games. New names who are coming through the ranks. I think
they actually struggled against Nigeria. Yeah. It was Sharon Owerri scoring 55th minutes before they were able to...
Rivers Angels, Robo Queens, the kind of players they produce for us. In recent time, we've had Bayosa and also Delta coming through the Den Edo also. But, Rivers Angels. So I want to see that. Robo Queens versus Delta Queens, this is a big game in the context of the NWFL. Yeah. What is Robo Queens having under their sleeves? They are topping the group. These are games that you use to make statements. Are you truly a group topper, or you're just there, temporarily? So we'll wait and see. Conference Queen versus Remo Stars. Remo Stars ladies have so many people rooting for them with their kind of run they had last season all the way to the Super 6. We want to see if it's a fluke or they are actually one of the real deal. Then you have Audi Ame against Nasarawa Amazons. I love Nasarawa, both male and female, Nasarawa United Amazons.
Yeah, it was a goalless for them in Lagos when they played against Danas.
And, I just want to continue seeing the development, the growth of a team like this. So, rooting for Nasarawa Amazon, but no disrespect to Audi Ame. Then I just mentioned Sunshine versus Danas ladies. Yeah. Danas is in Ikeja, and, I grew up, stayed all my life in Ikeja. So, always rooting for Danas. So
but they're playing away from home. So FC Robo, the only team that we play in Lagos.
When they get the glory, they bring it back to Ikeja.
Yeah, and FC Robo happens to be the only team that have not 2 games, 2 wins, 2 games. The others are 4. You have 4 points from all of them. Danas also a good one for them, also 4 points. Nasaram is also 4 points. The FC Robo from A and B are the only team that have not been beaten. So the game Sunshine Queens and Danas ladies, that game is going to be on Thursday. I love the fact that they're spacing it so that everybody can actually get to see these games. So let's leave NWFL. I don't know if Austin wants to chip in or quickly go to NPFL. Austin, go to NPFL.
No, I like it. I like what we're seeing with the NWFL. You guys have talked about the big games. Let me, stay close. Since I don't have Aqua United now, let me stay with Ibom Angels. After 2 matches, they haven't lost a match. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. Conference Queens Remo Stars ladies, Cecilia, should also be a good one for us to look at. It's just match day 3, but the NWFL already giving us good things to talk about. It's the beautiful game. I will love it.
All right. Beautiful game. We love the NWFL. Now, NPFL is getting our attention right now. I'm going to run through the results that happened at the weekend. Of course, the games that were played on Monday. Benin Insurance, of course, they won away from home against Katsina United. A lone goal, that was enough for them to get all 3 points. And Nasarawa United, that's the reason they're not topping the group. They beat Shooting Stars by a lone goal. And Economy Warriors and Barrow FC ended goalless. These were at the weekend. These games were on Mondays. But these games are the weekend games. You have the Kano Pillars beating Côte by 2-1. Abia Warriors and Rivers United, the game ended 1-1. Let's take a look at other results coming from match day 16. Rangers International had the biggest win at the weekend against Bayelsa United. They won 4-1. Kwara United and Niger Tornadoes, it was 2-0. Plateau United and Warrior Wolves ended a lone goal in favor of Plateau United. And of course, Remo Stars and Eyimba, this was the talking point of the weekend. Remo Stars winning by 2-1. Eyimba right now on the fire for this. Wicked Tourists and Ikorodu City, this game ended goalless. So these are the games, the match day 16 coming from the NPFL. And when you take a look at the table, starting at the top, so Nasarawa United, they're back at the top. It was Ikorodu that was topping the last time. Now they're changing hands so far. After 16 games, They've won 9 out of 16, drawing 3, losing just 4, and goal difference of 7. And of course, that's why they are on 30 points at the moment. Just 2 points ahead of the second place, Ikorodu City, on 28 points. Ikorodu City, for them, they've won 7 so far this season, 7 draw and 2 losses. Just 2 losses. But there's another team that have lost 1 game so far this season, but they're on, number 3. Talking about Rivers United, they're on 27 points. They lost just 1 game this season, goal difference of 6. And of course, their draws are more. They've drawn 6 games so far, and Rangers complete the top 4 after 16 matches, 7 wins, 4 draws, 5 losses, which is actually huge for a team that is in the top 4. And now the bottom 4, Bender Insurance have crawled out of the bottom 4. You have Plateau United jumping in after 15 matches for Plateau United. They've won 6, yet to draw 1, but they've lost 9 games so far, and of course they are owing as much as 6 goals on 18 points. Go to Kun Khalifa after 16 matches, 4 wins, 5 draws, 7 losses, -4 on goal difference, and 17 points. Barrow FC, after 15 games, they've won 4, 5 draws, 6 losses, -5 on goal difference, and on 17 points. Because Kano Pillars still down at the bottom, yet to crawl out from this. After 16 games, they have just 12 points and goal difference of -10, which is the highest of all. And they've lost 9 so far this season, same numbers of games that Plateau United have lost. And the difference is they've won just 4, while Plateau United have won 6, and the draws happens to be 3. That's the bottom 4 and the top 4 of NWFL. I'm happy that Better Insurance are leaving, the bottom 4. Aqua United is not there, so we'll leave it at that. And the game schedule for Wednesday, Plateau United and Rivers United will be in action. The rescheduled game for Wednesday. So, Austin, the big one at the weekend that was more of the talking points was actually Remo Stars and Eimba. That game lived up to its billing, right?
It did, and shout out to Remo Stars. They are beginning to prove that they've got some champions mentality in them, At some point, we were asking questions. Can they get back into it? Can they do just enough to get us talking again? I know, yes, they've done just that. That game against Eimba, though people will argue that Eimba, they haven't been that sort of team that you expect them to be, this season. But that was the sort of match also that they need to show character, and they did. So shout out to Remo Stars. A very important win for them. And I think they've got to the conversation that they can actually do just enough. But we celebrate away wins in the Nigeria Premier Football League because we know how difficult it is. And that's why Bendel Insurance arguably is the team from match day 16. I think that's their first away win since April this year when they went to Kwara United to win. So this is a good one, just their 4th win of the season. But this is a sort of win that can, build good momentum, and you need to, to sustain it. That's beautiful counter football right there by Eimba. So look, the NPFL has shown us time and time again that look, it's got the quality, we've got players, and what a finish! What a finish! Now that's some good football right there. Yeah. That's the kind of football that can pause whatever analysis you're trying to do of another game and come back to it. But it wasn't just good enough to, give Eimba a point out of abuse. So shout out to the teams that really get us talking all season. It's just match day 16, and we've seen leadership change here and there. Nasarawa United did just enough to beat Shooting Stars to get back on top again. But we must say well done to Ikorodu City for also staying relevant.
All right, let's quickly go to the Champions League. We'll just run through the result before Austin will give us updates of what's currently going on before we leave the studio. Real Madrid and Manchester City, that's the big game we'll be dwelling on. If we have time, maybe 1 minute to talk about that. Karabakh and Ajax, you have Villarreal, Atletico Copenhagen, Athletic Club and PSG will be in action. Bayern Leverkusen and Newcastle United will also be in action for Wednesday's fixtures for the UEFA Champions League. Benfica, Napoli, Dortmund, and Bologna. You also have Club Brugge and Arsenal, Juventus, and Pafos FC. Arsenal, the only team that remain unbeaten in the Champions League so far this season. So a quick one. Kylian Mbappe did not train with Real Madrid today. We didn't see him. He has scored so many goals this season. But then Real Madrid and Manchester City, who's your money on?
I think my money will be on Man City. I've not been able to comfortably trust Real Madrid, this season. As much as people will say Man City has become Haaland FC, but we've seen Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku turning up for Man City. And I think they are more of a stable team, more balanced team than Real Madrid. Real Madrid has been really riding on the expertise and special showing of Kylian Mbappe. a lot of persons are not really turning up. So my money will be on Man City.
Be on Man City. I mean, both sides have faced each other 60 occasions. Madrid 6, winning 6, and of course, Man City winning 6. Austin, live updates quickly before we leave the show.
Live updates, Cecilia. In the 32nd minute, Liverpool thought they took the lead in that game against Inter Milan. Konate with a header, but the video assistant referee spent about 3 minutes checking it, and the ref said no goal. So it's still goalless right there in Italy. Atalanta 0, Chelsea 1. That's a good one for the Blues if they can hold on to it. That game is approaching halftime. Pedro with the goal for Enzo Maresca's team. Let's go to Spain. It's Barcelona 0, Frankfurt 1. Can you believe it? That match is in its 44th minute and approaching halftime. What other interesting result do I have to give to you before the break? It's PSV 1, Atletico Madrid 1. That one also approaching halftime. Marseille doing just enough in Belgium. They lead 2-1 against Union Saint-Gilloise. So that's some interesting result. Tottenham also with a 1-0 lead over Slavia Prague. These results, I know, will change by the time they get into second half where we'll begin to see goals. I told you at the start that Bayern Munich did just enough to win Sporting CP, and the away win Olympiacos went to Almaty to beat them by a single.
We have to go.
Let us go. That's the show. In London, I'm Austin Okonakman. In everything you do, remember to TikTok in sport. Bye for now.
Kenny, thank you so much for doing this with me again.
It's good to be here, and we're waiting for the Super Eagles list.
Okay, we're waiting. I'll be refreshing my phone regularly tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cecilia Mogbe. Have a good night rest.